Hey everybody, good afternoon and welcome back to the ChatGTM podcast brought to you by Ink Tank GTM. We're reporting to you live here from the Restaurant Leadership Conference in the beautiful grounds of the JW Marriott in Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm joined with me by a longtime friend, somebody I've known for quite a while now. Actually, one of the first sales calls I ever made, honestly.
Yeah.
Mr. Louis or Louis?
Either one.
As long as it's not Ira.
Exactly.
Basile.
That's a longer story.
That's a longer story. We're not going to do it now.
Yeah.
But I met Louis when he was, I just screwed that up? I called you Louis? All right, yeah. Anyways, I met Louis when he was at Wildflower Bakery. That was a bread company.
Now
And
Wildflower, just Wildflower.
This is
now.
Wildflower.
Yep.
Wildflower. And I know some things about you, or I think I know some things about you. Beyond leading that brand, you were foundational with the National Restaurant Association as well. Weren't you on the board at one point?
I am still on the board.
On the board?
And we started as a way to get engagement, we actually brought the fast casual group to the National Restaurant Association from an outside perspective, and that engagement's still going, actually. We're incredibly proud. So there's this thing called the Fast Casual Industry Council, where leaders of fast casual brands get together and, we talk about business.
What's the origin story, Louis? When did you get into this industry? So,
Michael, first I just want to tell you how much I appreciate our friendship. We see each other at lots of these conferences, and we got a long history together.
Yes,
so thank you so much for the opportunity.
All day.
So I grew up in the restaurant business. So my dad owned what we called a luncheonette back in East Orange, New Jersey. And as I like to tell the story, I literally started going to work when I was 5 years old. And back then, there were no cool cameras like this, no cool watch you have on, no cell phones.
Yeah.
And milk used to come either in a glass container or a cardboard carton.
And it was delivered to your doorstep?
Yeah, or it was definitely delivered in wooden crates. And I used to carry this wooden crate around, and that's how I would get to the counter. And I don't really think I was very helpful during the day when we were open, but at the end of the night, no credit cards back then. I used to remember stacking the coins, 4 quarters, 10 dimes. And I really just enjoyed that. So from there, I got a little older, and I started working for my dad, and I learned an incredible amount from my father. He was in a family business. Some family businesses are very functional. My father, with his sister, was completely dysfunctional. And as I like to tell the story, I never knew two people could argue about either the same thing or something different almost every day. And I finally decided that there were 3 reasons why customers came to Pam's Coffee Shop. That's what it was called. 1, the food was really great. 2, they just sort of tuned it out, right? They were reading their newspaper or whatever. Or 3, they thought they had a messed up family, but then they saw my father and their sister, and they're like, we're so normal compared to this. Thank God, okay? So from there, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and I went out to Ohio from New Jersey and went to school. Of course, I was helping to pay for school, and I got a job at a restaurant. My dad's restaurant didn't serve alcohol. I was working for a full-service restaurant, part of the Chart House Corporation called Cork and Cleaver, and I started as a dishwasher, ultimately ended up as a head cook. And for those of you, we're talking now in the late 70s. Back then, when you were done working, you used to hang out at the bar and have a beer. Now, of course, we don't do that anymore, okay? But let's just say 1 beer leads to 2 beers and 3 beers, and then it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and 8 o'clock religion class doesn't seem so great.
No, you're staying in bed.
You're right. So from there, I was actually offered a construction project manager's job, crazy, at 19 for the Chart House. I wasn't really...
But it was still at the business.
Yes, I was a better beer drinker than a student, and I said, tough phone call to make to my parents. I was the first one to go to college, and I'm like, it's not working for me. I'm going to go work. Be a lawyer. Right.
Oh. Must have broke your mother's heart.
It did. But I went and did that for a few years. Incredible experience, but also realized, okay, this isn't what I want to do either. I was going to go back to school back then. My dad's still in the restaurant business, and my father's accountant's son was Ron Shake. And Ron had bought 50% of Old Bone Pen, which was based in Boston at the time, 3 bakeries. Again, we'll make it a very simple story. I go up to Boston, I get hired, and I spend the next 14 years helping Old Bone Pen grow from 3 bakeries. We turned that really into what was the beginnings of fast casual.
Yeah.
Elevated guest experience, higher quality ingredients, elevated ambiance, and we grew that to 255 restaurants.
Yeah.
And I wanted to run something. That wasn't going to happen there. My wife and I, Tracy, we moved to Arizona to run a small coffee company. I like to say the courtship was great, but the marriage was horrible. And 5 months after we leave all of our friends and everything we had in Boston, I was without a job. And my wife goes, okay, what are we doing now? And at that point, I knew it was very clear to me that I didn't want to work for anyone else. I never wanted somebody else to control my destiny.
Yeah.
And I started the Wildflower. And, you know, over the last 28 years, it'll be 30 years this November that the Wildflower, and that's a remarkable achievement.
Yeah.
We grew it to 16 restaurants, and I recently sold the business, and they're thriving, and everyone's doing well, and I'm launching my thought leadership platform, louisbasile.com, and I'm looking for opportunities to make an impact with people, to either speak, to consult, to help. I'm writing a book called Success with Integrity, Truths and Tools for Lasting Excellence, and I simply believe that there are 3 things that can coexist in business. I don't care what kind of business it is. You can take care of your employees, whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
You can take care of the guests, and you can be a good community citizen. And those 3 things do not have to suffer. They can be an equilateral triangle.
Yeah.
And companies that are the most successful, that have longevity, figure that out. And along the way, you can make lots of money doing that.
You don't have to sacrifice taking care of your employees to have a better bottom line.
No, quite frankly, they're the reason that you will have a better bottom line.
Yeah.
And the reality is that, you know, in the beginning, honestly, I always thought, well, let's take care of the guests. But then, you know, it's not really.
It's a little upside down.
There's no rocket science to figuring out that if you don't take care of your employees at the Wildflower, we called them breadheads, well, then why are they going to go the extra mile to take care of you when you come into the Wildflower? 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about this shift in your career, or this next phase of your career.
Yep.
Better way to say it.
Yep.
You have a depth of experience, and you mentioned a little bit about potentially mentoring or coaching in the speaking circuits. And let's talk about speaking opportunities. What are kind of your central messages? If somebody says, what are you going to say on stage? What's the message you want to share with our audience? Panera calls you up and says, hey, let's have you on stage to talk at our next executive summit. What would that look like?
So, you know, look, I feel like I'm incredibly well-versed because I've had so many experiences. Any entrepreneur knows, again, I don't really care what vertical it is. When you build a business, you've worn all those hats and you've experienced things, okay? And you learn. If you're a lifetime learner, you're gonna learn. I like to say that I'm always pursuing excellence. So, you know, for me, what really was a defining moment at Wildflower was when we really leaned in to having a purpose-based culture. So I love talking about culture, but culture's not easy because culture is something that never takes a day off. You either live it or you don't. And if you're not authentic about it, then people understand that, and all of a sudden it becomes actually a deterrent, not something that actually people buy into and actually hold on to. So that's one topic I'm passionate about. For anyone who listens to this, for anyone that's been to the Wildflower, I feel, not because I founded the company, we run great restaurants. And we're really strong system-wise because repeating great experiences is not by luck, it's by design. And so, do you want to talk about operational systems? Do you want to talk about how do you get compliance, right? Because it's not with a stick, it's because the system actually makes sense and people can understand it, right? It's our responsibility as leaders to figure out what are the friction points and how do we make it easier for everyone to be successful, not to build a system that's so complicated that so few people can ever execute it.
Yeah, so it almost conjures the idea that, you know, we have all these great solutions and systems and technologies in place, so you're looking to squeeze the extra juice out of that employee. Well, that's a machine working with human beings. That doesn't quite equate success, right?
Because listen, there's a real Look, I'm all into the technology. I mean, look, it's changed our lives.
Sure.
You can argue there's lots of good things to it, and there's also some real negative things to it, okay? However, the reality is that we still are people. And best I know, people need human interaction. They need an affirmation. They need somebody that actually cares about what they have to say.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that we can't be the therapist to every employee or everybody's problem. But however, you would be so surprised what a genuine listening opportunity can do for somebody when they're having a tough day, or just a smile, or just a thank you.
Or how are you doing?
Yes.
What a great question to ask.
A legitimate how are you doing, not a throwaway how are you doing, right? I love to say that.
The walk by, how you doing? You don't even there for the
because
answer.
you don't really care.
Yeah, no, it's just the words.
So, so I do agree with you 100% that it is a combination, and it's really a melding, it's really a sewing of a fabric together that ties the current technology, whether we're talking about AI systems, anything, to this human interaction. Because in the end, unless I'm completely wrong, people want to talk to somebody, and it's not just going to be, I gotta, voice into my phone to hear some AI model tell me, what the solution is.
You got a flower in here. I'm going to get it for you real quick.
Perfect.
That tree shed on you. I'm like a rhesus monkey over here. The other thing that keeps coming up to me, Louis, and you probably appreciate this more than most, is before there's ever technology, we serve food. Before we had any POS system, we were able to serve food to people and give them a good experience. And we keep layering on all this tech. And I'm a tech guy. I love it, right? Sometimes I feel it's a little bit much.
Yep. Well, right? So, again, this is my opinion. I don't feel like my forecast or my opinion or my vision for the future is wrong. But I think that tech supports delivering great food, great hospitality, and a clean restaurant. And certain people, everyone sees value differently, every guest, okay? And so the key is, how do I know what that guest actually values, right? Some guests value a clean bathroom. Food doesn't even have to be good. They just want the bathroom to be clean. Some guests want the music to be the right vibe. So really, you got to hit on all of those touch points. And what I feel the tech stack helps is to free up the leadership team and the employees, breadheads in the Wildflower's case, to really deliver on those key core components, which is, can I deliver hot food hot, cold food cold? Can I do it with a smile? Can I know your name? Can I know your water? And can I keep the restaurant clean? To me, those three basic executional points of running a restaurant are not going away regardless of the tech stack. Now, the tech stack can support that and can give you data, but there's also an overload of data, right? I mean, how much data can one person actually take in, comprehend, and act on before it becomes overwhelming?
Well, there's just so much. And that's kind of where AI comes in too. Like if people don't have to look at it anymore and the AI just says, here's what you need to know, then all that data starts making a lot of sense.
100%. As long as it's reality checked.
Yes.
Because
trust yet verify.
Yes, 100%. Because listen, maybe someday it'll never make a mistake.
Yeah.
But everyone's making mistakes, including AI these days. Well, and I'm not against AI. I'm just making a comment that is trust and verify.
Well,
I agree.
The funny thing you said, though, is I just attended the Mertech Summit recently, and it was heavy on AI, and one of the chief speakers on the subject, a lady named Sol Rashidi, was there, and she wasn't about all the hype and glamour of AI. It was, this is great, but hold on to your critical thinking. That's the differentiator. That's the tool in the toolbox that's going to make the difference is to have that critical thinking element, right?
Critical thinking and common sense, honestly, okay? Does what I'm being told is important still make sense to me today, right? Yeah. And if it doesn't make sense, then somebody's got to raise their hand. They got to be curious, right? Curiosity is the greatest gift of mankind, okay? Quite frankly, that's what's developed all these tech platforms and tech
we were
tools.
Curious on how to solve a problem. We made something to solve the problem.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
I know you got to get back here in a minute, but one of the things that you're somebody here that I would say, and I'm probably going to make you blush if the people can't tell in the hot sun, you're kind of a legend in our industry.
No, it's so kind.
And you're at a point where you said it, you've made your money, you're looking for satisfaction in your life. What's the legacy you left behind, Louis? When you look at your life and your fingerprints of goodness you put on everything, I was talking to somebody the other day. I was talking to Greg Creed, the former CEO.
I know Greg well. Yep.
Greg was mine is the people I developed.
Yep.
What's yours?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I appreciate that. So, for me, first of all, my legacy will be defined by the people that I've interacted with. Right. My family, my wife, my kids, my friends, people that have worked for me, and similar to Greg, for me, I just want to know that I made a difference. I want to know that your experience, whether it's a 5-minute conversation with me or you've worked for me for years, or with me for years, that I actually gave you something that made you a better person. I like to say, at the Wildflower, and again, this whole cultural piece we touched on briefly, but I just want you to find your passion and just be a kind, contributing member to society. I like to say, I just don't want you to be a dick, okay? That's it. And if I can make any impact in your life where you've learned something that makes you find your passion, challenge yourself, and be a kind, contributing member, man, what a difference that would make.
Somewhere in my head, I just envisioned a bronze bust of Louis somewhere in Phoenix that says, Louis Basile, don't be a dick.
There you go. Cheers, man. Here's to not being a dick.
Absolutely, all day long. That is awesome. I think it's a great note to wrap on. Well, the last part, I always like people to be able to find you. You're active on LinkedIn.
Yep.
You mentioned your website. One more time, where if people want to engage you.
So go to Louis Basile, LouisBasile.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can reach out. We're a small, little, mighty brand trying to make a difference in the world. So thank you for listening, and reach out if you have something you want to talk about. We're always available.
You just did my closer for me. That's great. And everybody, thank you for joining us and being part of our community, letting us be part of yours. We'll see you in a little bit more for some more great content here from the Restaurant Leadership Conference. And as always, random acts of kindness, sprinkle that stuff everywhere, just like Louis did with me today. He made my day a lot better for being here. Please pass that on. We'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye, everyone. That was awesome.
That was perfect, man.